Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. And Alanna, I want to start off by saying that it's not often in this job I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I can't catch my breath. The last few days, I felt exactly like that. There is so much going on with the races, and we're going to get to it all, that yes, it's a little overwhelming.
It is a little overwhelming, a lot to unpack, Ken. Make it make sense.
Well, let's start with the AL West, which was decided last night and decided in dramatic fashion, with Cal Raleigh hitting home runs number 59 and number 60 for the Mariners as they clinched the AL West for the first time since 2001. Think about that. First time since 2001, 24 years, first division title for the Mariners. Congratulations. They have won, listen to this, 15 of their last 16 games, 10 straight at home, and 20 of their last 22 at home. If they win today or if Cleveland loses, they get a bye. What a dramatic turn of events in the AL West, considering that a week ago they went into a series in Houston tied with the Astros for the AL West. You see it right there. The Mariners are AL West champions. Now, talk about a dramatic turn of events. It's almost impossible to describe how dramatic what has happened in the AL Central has been. On September 11th, I believe it was, or September 12th, somewhere in early September, the Cleveland Guardians were 11 games behind the Detroit Tigers. Actually, it was September 5th. 11 games. They were 15 and a half games back in early July. 15 and a half. And here they are right now, after their wins in the last two games against Detroit at home, sitting on a one-game lead in the AL Central. It's amazing what they have done. They traded Shane Bieber. They lost Luis Ortiz to that gambling-related investigation, and yet they're going with a six-man rotation, including some pitchers I'm sure most casual fans have never heard of, and that rotation has allowed 2 runs or fewer in 19 straight games. If they do it again today against the Tigers, that will be 20 straight. That will tie the record held by the 1917 Chicago White Sox. That was the dead ball era, folks. Here's what I'm talking about. Sarah Langs, of course, was on this. Most consecutive starts with 2 or fewer runs allowed since the mound moved to its current distance in 1893. You see the Guardians right there. Just a stunning, crazy turn of events. I want to show you a tweet as well from Zach Meisel of The Athletic, in which he shows the evolution of the playoff odds for the Guardians over the last few days. It's rather amazing, Alanna. August 25th, Fangraphs gave the Guardians a 0.0 chance to win the AL Central. September 10th, 0.1% chance. And now, Alanna, the Guardians lead the AL Central and own the tiebreaker over Detroit with 4 games remaining. You see the standings right there, and look at those last 10. That kind of tells the story. Detroit's collapse has been staggering. They've lost 8 straight. They've lost 11 of 12. They've lost 20 of 27. It's the opposite of last year, Alanna, when, of course, they led a charmed existence down the stretch. This isn't that.
It's insane, Ken. So you're saying there's a chance for the Guardians. You mentioned it, September 5th, 11 games out. Now they are the division leaders. Are there any parallels in your mind to what the Guardians are doing in 2025 to what the Colorado Rockies did in 2007?
It's quite similar. And I don't recall the exact numbers with the Rockies and how many games they won in a certain amount of time. It was a lot right down to the end. But yes, that's kind of the parallel that we're seeing here. But this is more historic than that even. 15 and a half game deficit. No team has ever lost that deficit and lost the division title or league in that scenario. Back before divisional play, it never happened. The Miracle Braves, not 15 games. The 78 Yankees, no. It was a staggering thing to think about that this could happen, and it is happening. Now, we have some clinching scenarios I want to go through too as well as we enter tonight's play and today's play. The Cleveland Guardians are in a position right now where they can clinch a playoff berth, not the AL Central just yet, with a win or a Houston loss. Boston is in with a win or a Houston loss, and then Seattle clinches a bye with a win or a Cleveland loss. Houston has lost 5 straight. They are in real trouble here. They're 1 game behind the Tigers for the 3rd wild card, and the Tigers hold the tiebreaker Framber Valdez tonight in what could be his last start in an Astros uniform as a potential free agent. If they miss the playoffs, this could be it. The Astros haven't had Yordan Alvarez since September 15th. They haven't had Jeremy Pena the last 3 games because of oblique soreness, and that is where they stand. Now, here are the wild card standings, and we're putting the Yankees there even though they're tied with the Blue Jays because as of right now, the Blue Jays hold the tiebreaker. But let's not forget the AL East. What is going on there is insane as well. The Jays have lost 6 of 7. The Yankees now tied with them for the division lead, yes, with the Jays holding the tiebreaker. And the Jays are in this precarious spot right now where they're trying to avoid the wild card series. The winner of this division is going to likely be the team that finishes with the best record in the American League and the number 1 seed. The Jays, why do they want to avoid the wild card series? Remember 2020, 2022, 2023? They got swept in the wild card round all 3 of those seasons. So there is so much at stake for these 2 teams. The Jays host the Rays this weekend. The Yankees host the Orioles. And, of course, the Jays have 1 more game left against the Red Sox, and that has not been an easy series for them so far. So, again, Alanna, man, it's spinning right now. It's spinning hard.
Yeah, take a breath, Ken Rosenthal. I always feel like there's one of those boards that have all of the different strings and photos and all of the different scenarios, kind of like, A Beautiful Mind, where all of the different numbers are going around. That is what I feel like this postseason push is at the moment. 2 weeks ago, we thought we had it all figured out, right? The biggest thing we were talking about was seeding. Now it's like we don't even know who's going to get in. And that is the case for that final National League wild card spot. Is it going to be the Mets? Is it going to be somebody else? Do the Dodgers win the division? Do the Padres win the division? What's going on in the senior circuit, Ken?
Well, the Dodgers are looking good. They're 1 win or 1 San Diego loss away from clinching the division. Not that they've done it in particularly impressive fashion, but at least last night, Sasaki out of the bullpen and Kershaw out of the bullpen, both were extremely impressive. Now, you look at the wild card race, all 3 of the top contenders for the 3rd spot lost last night. The Diamondbacks and Reds in extra innings go down. The Mets lose to the Cubs, got trounced. Now, the Mets are in a tough spot here. And they're in a tough spot because they are, believe it or not, with a $340 million payroll, running out of starting pitching. They're going to go with McClain tonight. They're going to go with Sproat tomorrow. Then maybe Clay Holmes, who pitched in relief last night on Saturday. He would be the most likely option. And who knows where they go on Sunday. The Diamondbacks, they have had this incredible run despite their injuries, despite their trades. They are playing their hearts out. They've got the Padres this weekend, and they rearranged their rotation. What they're going to do is go with a bullpen game tonight against the Dodgers. They've got a situation where they're facing Yamamoto. They want to push Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Brandon Pfaadt back to the San Diego series. That will be in San Diego. So that will give them the best chances of winning those games. Tonight, let's face it, you don't want to burn Gallen necessarily against Yamamoto, not when you need every win. They may lose tonight, or they may pull one out of their hat somewhere, but this is the way they're going. And the Reds, man, I wrote about these teams earlier this week. Both the Reds and Diamondbacks, they're 2 games over 500. They are only in this conversation because this is the National League final wild card race brought to you by the New York Mets. The Reds are now 3-12 in extra innings. They were looking good after they swept 4 from the Cubs. But what has happened? They lost 2 straight to the Pirates now. Obviously, last night with Skenes pitching, you could expect it, but they took it to extra innings and they fell apart again. So, tiebreakers. People are going to want to know that as well. Mm-hmm. The Reds hold them over the Mets and Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks hold it over the Mets. So, the Mets have no tiebreakers. They need to keep winning here. They need to preserve that 1-game lead because otherwise, they're out.
Mets are a mess. Dodgers bullpen is a mess, Ken Rosenthal. I mean, I every time I look up, they're blowing another save, and it pains me greatly to say that. Obviously, the Dodgers are in the postseason. They could still win the division. They could do it as early as today. This bullpen, though, it must give you pause.
It does. And yes, last night, Blake Trinan got out of it, 1 batter. And yes, it was impressive to see Sasaki and Kershaw, what they did, especially Sasaki. 1, 2, 3, bingo. That said, this is their Achilles heel right now. And the last 2 nights, they blew 4-1 leads, I believe in the 8th inning, both to the Diamondbacks. And you wonder just how effective they're going to be in the postseason. Yeah, they've got great starters. Starters aren't going to go 9 innings. They never do in the postseason. They never do, period, in baseball anymore. So there was legitimate concern about the Dodgers. This is a team, remember, at the start of the season, we were all talking about them ruining baseball potentially, maybe winning 115 games. They're not even going to win 95 games. They're not even going to get to 95. I think they can max out at 93. So, yes, there are troubling signs for the Dodgers. And as we look at all of this and ponder it, Alanna, and we consider what is going on right now, think about what is going to happen in October with all of this unpredictability. It's going to be just as unpredictable, if not more so, in October, especially, and I was thinking about this morning, with all of these bullpens in such disarray. And it's not just the Dodgers. There are any number of teams you can point to that have bullpen troubles. A number of teams also have rotation problems. So, yeah, we're looking at a wide open postseason for sure coming up.
Ken, it is a beautiful mess, exactly like we wanted at this time of the year. What would surprise you more before we get to break? Don't forget, guys, get your questions in for Grillin Ken coming up after the break. What would surprise you more? The Mets don't make it. The Yankees win the division. The Guardians are the AL Central winners, or the Houston Astros don't make the postseason?
Well, that's a great question, Alanna. All would qualify as a surprise. The Guardians, though, the biggest surprise. Last I checked, this was yesterday, they are 27th in the major leagues in runs per game, 27th in scoring. They have no offense. They have Jose Ramirez, a little bit of Steven Kwan, a little bit of some other guys, but that's it. They are doing this solely on the basis of, well, not solely, but mostly on the basis of their starting pitching, which, as we detailed, has been utterly brilliant. And that is intriguing for the postseason, because if they get there and continue on with these guys, okay, they could go on a little bit of a run. The Reds are in the same kind of position. Offense has been inconsistent. It kind of drives you nuts watching them play. But you go into a postseason series with Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, you've got a shot. So if they can get there, they're interesting.
This end of season drama is better than any reality show, Ken Rosenthal. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk to Ken about some questions that you guys have. Get them in. We'll be back right after this.
Kratz, let's talk about Omaha Steaks, and it's not just steaks. It's chicken wings. It's smash burgers. Big deli style franks. There are a number of categories that you can hit all in one place. They've been doing it for a long time. They're the best in the biz. And if you got a good filet, life's good, man.
But you got to finish every meal with some delectable desserts, too. They have those, too, to go along with these delicious steaks.
Apple caramel tarts on the list, among many other menu items to check out. Be the hero that orders Omaha Steaks and is the most popular person in your household. So get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off, $35 off on top of that, use promo code FOUL at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. See site for details.
Get those questions in. We're taking questions from our YouTube family. We appreciate the conversation. Everyone's talking about it, Ken. You've been asked about it 1,000 times. So have I. AL MVP. Daniel brings up a good point, though. Can't Judge and Raleigh be co-MVP if people think they deserve it? Has happened before, 1979. I mean, that was, 46 years ago. It could happen again. I doubt it's going to. Tell me more.
Daniel, the reason it probably won't happen is just the way the voting is done. It's a point system, and you have 30 voters, 2 in each American League city, and the chances of a tie occurring are quite slim. Could it happen? Yes, it could happen. I just don't expect it to happen. The real question for me now, with Raleigh getting to 60, is if that pushes him over the top. And I know there is a 170-point difference in OPS between Judge and Raleigh. Judge is having another historic season by a right-handed hitter. And I know also that Raleigh has done some things defensively that we cannot even measure. So it's an incredibly close race, in my opinion. I have said all along, there is no wrong choice. I know Yankee fans say, it's ridiculous. Judge is much better offensively. Okay. And I know People who root for the Mariners say it's ridiculous. Cal Raleigh does things defensively and plays the most physically demanding position and has done things as a catcher no one has ever done. Things as a switch hitter no one has ever done. Which is the MVP? They're both MVPs to me. So, Daniel, maybe the solution is a tie. I just don't expect it to happen.
I mean, no answer is wrong, Ken. I mean, it's as much of a coin flip today as it has ever been, really. Do you think, though, if it's all comparison, apples to apples, the tie goes to the catcher?
First of all, it's not apples to apples. That's the whole problem, Alanna. We're talking about, as you just said, a catcher versus a right fielder, and a right fielder who was a DH for about a month. Raleigh DHs too. That is the problem here, that you can't really measure what Cal Raleigh is doing. And we have WAR, but WAR is an imperfect measure even when you like it and even when you use it to compare players. It's imperfect. It's especially imperfect because all the things that Raleigh does to handle a pitching staff involving game calling, all these different things, they can't be measured. You can measure framing and you can measure throwing and all of that, but there are elements to his game that just are immeasurable. That is the problem here. That is why it's difficult to compare them. It's always been a subjective vote. It always will be, as long as it's most valuable player. But this one is particularly difficult, even more difficult than last season when it was Judge versus Bobby Witt having an amazing season of his own.
It's funny, Chrome fan in our chat says Judge equals most valuable hitter, Raleigh equals most valuable player. Interesting take on that, Chrome fan. Again, I don't think anybody is going to be like, how could they give it to Aaron Judge? Oh my gosh. Ken, let me ask you another question from Vincent about the Dodgers. He wants to know from you, can the Dodgers repeat, even though I know they have not played their best baseball yet? Vincent, we're running out of calendar.
Vincent, the question is a good one, and the answer is yes. They can repeat. The reason I believe they can repeat is their starting rotation with Ohtani just pitching at an extremely high level, Yamamoto, top 5 Cy Young finisher most likely, and Blake Snell being second half Blake Snell. That is a great place to start. And then you've got Glass now for game 4 if you get to a best of 7 NLCS. They have to figure out their bullpen. If they can do that, and last night again was encouraging just seeing Sasaki handle himself the way he did, and Kershaw, of course, as well. If they can get that group straight, and right now it's not straight, then actually they are a team that certainly can win the World Series, will be a big-time threat to win the World Series. I still don't like them as much as the Phillies and maybe even the Brewers, but the Dodgers are going to be there if, again, that bullpen gets fixed.
Ken, are you a fan of piggybacking starters in that situation in the same game if it means that you can go to your bullpen less?
Yes, and that's certainly something that they'll explore. They've got Glass now. They've got Emmett Sheehan. They've got Kershaw. They can piggyback to their heart's delight, and maybe that's one way to stay away from some of their lesser options. But a guy like Alex Vestia, he's been pretty good for most of the year. Now, he had a rough night last night. Do you trust him? You do trust him. Blake Trinan, after last postseason, do you trust him? Dave Roberts does. Dodger fans don't. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle it. But Alanna, you raise a great point. Because they have this starting pitching depth, they can piggyback and maybe eliminate or reduce the number of bullpen innings they need that way.
All right. Mark Mead has a good question, Ken. I don't know if you know how much home field advantage. I have my answer, but I'm interested to know yours. What team is going to benefit most from home field advantage in the playoffs?
I would say Seattle right now because of how hot they are at home. I would say Toronto if they get there because their home crowd has been great all season long. Really, most teams would benefit, of course. And don't forget San Diego. Now, they're not going to open at home. And they lost Ramon Laureano last night to a fractured finger, which is going to hurt their offense. But should they get past the Cubs in what looks like will be a first-round series at Wrigley Field, then they go home, of course, have home games in the division series. And Petco Park right now is one of the best home parks or home environments in baseball. So those three come immediately to mind. If I'm forgetting anyone, I'm sorry to offend you.
The only forgetting, I think, is the Phillies, Ken. I think Citizens Bank Park is unbelievably a phenomenal home field advantage, which actually leads me to my next question in terms of the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's talk about the the pitching here. FTF Benji 2 wants to know, do the Phillies really trust bringing in 3 lefties for the postseason with Luzardo, Sanchez, and Suarez? Only have one righty in Nola. Nola's had his struggles recently. Feel like that's too many lefties, especially with Aaron's struggles.
All right. First of all, sorry to forget Philly in my list of great home parks. It's amazing. Now, this question is your classic rich people's problem. Yes, you'd rather have another righty in there, and I don't know that you want Nola pitching game 3, but the way to change this up is to start Sanchez in game 1, Suarez in game 2, who is less reliant, I should say, on velocity. He's more of a crafty left-hander, and then bring Luzardo in for game 3. That, to me, is probably what they should do in the division series. Now, maybe they'll see a good matchup for Nola, and maybe they'll like him on the road. It's possible, rather than Luzardo in game 3. I can see them turning to Nola, who has had his moments since coming back, but has been largely inconsistent. At the same time, those 3 lefties are really good. Yes, you'd prefer one of them to be right-handed, but I'm not going to weep too much for the Phillies over this particular issue.
Yeah, Ken, I don't think anyone's crying for the Phillies or these big market teams. They'll figure it out as they always have done. Okay, coming up after the break, we're talking about our Dude and Dork of the week. Who are we giving flowers to? Who are we saying, what are you thinking? We'll be right back.
FT Fam, Superpower believes that every human has 100-year potential, and they're going to help you get there. I like the sweatshirt, Eric Kratz, and I also love the way that Superpower takes care of its members.
Yeah. You go get your lab test, you become the best you. You be a member of this group, and your test will come back. It's unlocking things that you didn't know about yourself. This is stuff that players used all the time. You can do it now too.
Exactly, Kratz. How many of you have gone to a doctor's appointment? You get the classic, oh, you're fine, or just drink more water. No real data, no real game plan. With one simple blood draw with Superpower and over 100 biomarkers, that is way more than what you'd usually get, and it unlocks so much more about your own body. Head to superpower.com to learn more and lock in the special $199 price while it lasts. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. Please make sure to mention the FT podcast to support the show. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower.
BetMGM players will receive an MLB Parlay Boost token. To use the token, add a parlay wager made up of entirely MLB bets to your bet slip and activate the token. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the Parlay Boost token wins. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
Okay, Ken, who's your dude of the week?
I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. We
No.
have any number of candidates, Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge, right down the line. Edmundo Sosa of the Philadelphia Phillies, first shortstop in Phillies history last night to hit 3 home runs in the game. He comes off the IL to do this. Here's Jason Stark's tweet about it. The Phillies shortstops who have hit 3 homers in a game, there's only one.
Wow.
Edmundo Sosa. And also, I want to acknowledge Edmundo Sosa as one of the more popular players in his own clubhouse. The players on the Phillies love him, and they love him because he's a great teammate, great guy. He just comes to work every day, doesn't care what his role is. And again, that is classic Dude of the Week stuff, both his performance and the way he is, just his personality. Edmundo Sosa, Dude of the Week.
Hang on. I'm calling Jimmy Rollins right now and be like, man, you couldn't hit 3 home runs in a game. What is wrong with you, J-Roll? All right. So my dude of the week, the Cleveland Guardians. I know I'm not going out on a limb here, but what they have been able to do, Stephen Vogt obviously coming off Manager of the Year award last year. This team was left for dead. Absolutely unreal what they've been able to do. I love this picture, by the way. But think about it. Yes, you mentioned they don't have any offense to speak of, but their pitching is getting it done. And for whatever reason, they now lead the AL Central. And that's unbelievable to think about, Ken, considering where they were. Cleveland, nice job. All right, time now for the Dork of the Week. Okay, Kenny, who do you have?
Well, Alanna, the Colorado Rockies are sitting on 115
shocking.
losses. 115. Their run differential, negative 412. It's the worst in modern Major League history. Colorado Rockies, need we say any more? Dorks of the Week.
Okay, that's your dork of the week. I am always on board when you use that franchise as a dork of the week. My is more of a network situation. And again, I can see it from both sides, but mine is going to be the fact that in what is probably going to be Clayton Kershaw's last start ever at Dodger Stadium, if you think about the fact that they're probably taking him out of the bullpen in the postseason, we didn't get to see Clayton's last regular start as a Dodger at home because it was on Apple TV. And I understand that it's not Apple TV's fault. But I wish there would have been a scenario in which everybody, in terms of milestone moments like this, at least whether it's the last inning or the last out, I guess you don't know exactly when the last inning is going to be. But the point is, I would have loved to have been able for the masses to be able to see that moment for Clayton, a man who has spent his entire career in one jersey for 18 years. Let's let all the fans be able to witness that. Another possible scenario, Ken, if the Boston Red Sox do not clinch today, if Houston doesn't lose, or the Red Sox don't win today, they could clinch tomorrow on a Friday night, which would also be on Apple TV. I get Apple pays $1 bazillion for it. I get it. It's not their fault. I just wished in moments like that, as we want to grow the sport, I think that's important for everybody to be able to see it. So that is my my dork of the week. All right. If you are watching on TV, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys as always. We will see you next time. We have a couple of more minutes with our YouTube family right after this. All right, welcome back. If you are on YouTube, we're happy that you are still here. Can I ask you this question? Who is the best pitcher in baseball right now?
Well, it's pretty obvious right now. It's Paul Skenes. He's the only pitcher in baseball, the only starting pitcher, with a sub-2 ERA. He is at 1.97 after his final regular season start last night against the Cincinnati Reds. His innings are not at the top, but certainly among the league leaders. He's at 187 and a third, I believe. This has become appointment viewing. When he pitches, it is something where the entire sport is paying attention. Kind of like Doc Gooden when he came up, as our producer Mark Weiner mentioned earlier today. That's exciting. And what's really unfortunate about the Skenes situation is the team he's playing for. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying anything bad about the Pirates in terms of their fans or what they are trying to do as individual players. But this team is wasting brilliant performance, historic performance from a pitcher that they might not have for a long time. I believe Skenes has 4 more years of control after this one. The clock is ticking. And with him, you have to do your best to build a team around him. They have not done that. I just posted a story about all of the teams that could be facing changes in their heads of baseball operations or their managers. And of course, I included Pittsburgh in there. They have to decide, do we want Ben Cherington to continue as general manager? Do we want Don Kelly to continue as manager? Are we going to put a team around Paul Skenes? Because right now, they're wasting a very, very valuable resource.
Ken, just to play devil's advocate, does Paul Skenes have those numbers in a different division?
I have not looked at his breakdown of starts, how it kind of is relative to the NL Central versus everywhere else. I believe he would. He's that good. And if it wasn't 1.97 pitching in the NL Central, if it was, I don't know, in the NL East 2.20 or whatever it might be, he's still the best. And Scooble's really good despite his unfortunate start the other night in Cleveland. Obviously, Christopher Sanchez has had a great year. Garrett Crochet, brilliant season, all good. They're not Skenes. And that's not an insult to any of those guys. Like I said, they're elite. This guy is a level above all.
Yeah, no question about it. Paul Skenes, what a tremendous year. We appreciate being able to watch your career. Ken Rosenthal, it's been a pleasure. Try to take a deep breath. I know it's unbelievable trying to keep all of this separate. We appreciate you. Ken, of course, is back on Foul Territory tomorrow. A fresh episode with Ken by himself on Monday of Fair Territory. Foul Territory is next. Some great guests. We, of course, have AJ Brzezinski, Eric Kratz, Scott Braun, Padres manager Mike Schilt is on the show, Guardians pitcher Slade Ciccone, which I love to say, and, of course, Jim Bowden will join him as well. Have a great day, everybody.